She captivated the world with a voice that sounded like it came from a dream, unique, ethereal, and unforgettable. At the height of her fame, when millions were singing her songs, she disappeared. To this day, fans, critics, and curious minds still wonder what truly happened to Kate Bush. Catherine Bush was born in Bexleyheath, England. Looking at that shy, reserved girl, no one could have guessed that inside her was a creative storm, ready to revolutionize music forever. Raised in a middle-class family where music was always around, Kate grew up immersed in melodies that influenced her from a young age. As a child, she started writing poetry and experimenting with piano melodies. By age 11, she had already written dozens of her own compositions, but it was at 16 that fate took its first major turn. A family friend handed David Gilmour, the legendary guitarist of Pink Floyd, a cassette tape of her recordings. After hearing that soft yet distinctive voice, unlike anything else at the time, Gilmour immediately recognized her talent. He decided to fund a professional recording session and introduced her to EMI Records. In 1976, she signed her first contract, marking the start of a groundbreaking journey for women in the music industry. However, success didn't happen overnight. For 2 years, Kate was encouraged to develop her skills through study in dance, theater, and vocal techniques. She realized that being a good songwriter wasn't enough. She needed to deliver a complete artistic performance. All her preparation culminated in one of the most remarkable debuts in British music history, The Kick Inside, released in 1978. This album introduced the world to Wuthering Heights, a single inspired by Emily Bronte's novel. The song reached #1 on the UK charts, making Kate the first woman to achieve that position with a song she wrote, composed, and performed herself entirely. The success was immediate and overwhelming. Wuthering Heights not only dominated radio stations across the UK and Europe, but also crossed oceans. It became a huge hit, resonating with a generation through its experimental pop sound and that haunting, otherworldly voice that seemed to tell a gothic story through music. The track appeared on many compilation albums throughout the 1980s and became a regular feature on music video shows and alternative youth radio programs. Few people recognized the heavy burden that early success placed on her shoulders. While the world celebrated its new star, Kate was already feeling the weight of fame, the scrutiny, the pressure, and the impossible expectations that came with it. The meteoric rise of The Kick Inside positioned her in a rare spot for such a young artist. But instead of providing satisfaction, it brought new challenges. EMI pushed her to release another album almost immediately after Wuthering Heights exploded. Before she could even process her triumph, Kate was back in the studio. In November 1978, less than 9 months after her debut, she released her second album, Lionheart. Recorded quickly in Nice, France, it maintained her signature theatrical style. Songs like Wow and Hammer Horror were well received, but Kate later admitted she hadn't had the creative control she wanted.
We think you're incredible. Wow, 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 wow. Don't leave up the stars for the galley falls. Hammer horror, hammer horror.
Years later, she would confess that Lionheart felt like an album made on autopilot, more driven by industry pressure than inspiration. Tired of just meeting others' expectations, she decided to take full control of her career. In 1980, she released Never Forever, her third studio album and the first she co-produced. This record marked a turning point, not just for her, but for British pop music as a whole. With tracks like Babushka, Army Dreamers, and Breathing, she explored themes of vulnerability, conflict, and motherhood, seamlessly blending fantasy and reality in ways only she could. Never Forever made history as the first album by a British female solo artist to reach #1 on the UK charts. More importantly, it showed what audiences were beginning to realize. Kate Bush was not an ordinary pop star. She was creating her own universe, where every song was a carefully crafted part of a larger story. After establishing her reputation with Lionheart and Never Forever, Kate made a bold decision that would forever alter her career. She pursued total creative independence. She didn't just want to sing or co-produce, she aimed to control every aspect of her music. That goal resulted in her most daring, mysterious, and misunderstood album, The Dreaming, released in 1982. This time, Kate bypassed intermediaries and took full control of the production, experimenting with techniques and sounds never heard in British pop. She spent months locked in studios like Abbey Road and Townhouse, recording and manipulating sounds with the newly invented Fairlight CMI. This digital sampler allowed her to craft groundbreaking soundscapes. Nothing about The Dreaming was conventional. She used door slams, screams, exotic instruments, and even her own breathing to build its chaotic sonic universe. The album defied expectations. Songs like Sat in Your Lap, Suspended in Gaffa, and The Dreaming, which addressed Australia's colonial exploitation, showed her refusal to play it safe. She aimed to challenge, provoke, and unsettle.
So say that knowledge is something that's in your lap. So say that knowledge. A mind suspended in until I'm ready for you. Erase the claim the place and say we dig for all or dangle dangles in the.
Critics were divided in their opinions at the time. Many found it excessive or hard to understand. Sales were modest compared to her previous hits, but The Dreaming has aged beautifully. Decades later, it was celebrated as one of the most innovative and visionary albums of the 1980s, directly influencing artists like Björk and Tori Amos. After such a demanding creative phase, Kate took a 3-year break from the spotlight, focusing on her art while the pop scene moved on without her. Many believed she had retired permanently, but in September 1985, she surprised everyone with Hounds of Love, an album that not only marked her comeback, but also transformed her career. This time, she recorded from her own home studio, free from the pressures of major record labels. The album was divided into 2 parts. Side A featured pop songs, while Side B included a conceptual suite titled The Ninth Wave. Right from the opening track, she made history. Running Up That Hill, A Deal with God, became one of her biggest hits. With its driving rhythm, atmospheric synths, and emotionally charged lyrics, the song reached #3 in the UK and finally broke her into the American market.
Do you wanna feel how it feels? Yeah, yeah. Do you wanna hear about the deal they're making? If only could, I'd make a deal with God. Be running up that hill, be running up that building.
Kate later explained that Running Up That Hill explores the challenge of understanding between men and women in relationships, imagining a pact with God to exchange places so each can see through the other's eyes. Originally titled A Deal with God, the name was changed to avoid controversy over religious references. Although she agreed, Kate always referred to the song by its original name. The impact of Hounds of Love was immediate. Tracks like Cloudbusting and the title track showcased an artist at the height of her creative powers, blending complexity and accessibility effortlessly.
I just know that something good is gonna happen. The hounds of love are haunting.
The song's legacy only grew stronger over time. In 2003, the British band Placebo released a dark, emotional cover of Running Up That Hill, introducing the classic to a new generation. Then, decades later, the track surged again thanks to its inclusion in the 2022 season of Stranger Things, reigniting global interest in Kate Bush and sending the song back to the top of the charts. Hounds of Love marked a pivotal moment. Kate showed it was possible to stay true to her art while achieving commercial success. However, true to her nature, she gradually started to withdraw from the media, the industry, and even her audience. In 1986, she released The Whole Story, a compilation of her greatest hits that kept her name on the charts for years. In 1989, The Sensual World was released, featuring the emotional This Woman's Work, but she once again stayed out of the spotlight.
I'm standing outside this woman's work. I should be crying, but I just can't let it show. I should be hoping, but I can't.
By 1993, the Red Shoes had developed a more pop-oriented sound, as seen in tracks like Rubber Band Girl and Moments of Pleasure, although this shift also signaled creative exhaustion.
Some moments of pleasure.
Soon after, she disappeared completely. For years, Kate stayed out of the public eye, mourning personal losses, raising her son Birdie, and choosing a quieter life away from fame. Her silence lasted 12 years until 2005, when she released Ariel, a reflective album free from industry expectations. In 2011, 50 Words for Snow was released, followed by a historic series of live shows in 2014, her first in 35 years, all of which sold out within minutes. Since then, she has lived reclusively, with no social media presence, no interviews, and no public appearances. Her voluntary retreat has only enhanced her mythic reputation. Kate Bush never followed trends. She created them. Her music broke down barriers that once seemed unreachable for women in the industry, inspiring many artists and permanently transforming the sound of pop music. More than just fame, she left a legacy that still resonates in modern music. Which of her songs made a difference in your life? Share your thoughts, leave a like, and suggest who you'd like to see next. In our next video, we'll share the story of another 1980s icon, and it's even more incredible. See you there.